Oh man, I really feel like flying today. I think I'll go to Philadelphia. I don't have a Philadelphia airport. I'm going to log on to the org and see if I can find one. www.xplane.org. Download manager. Oh, I hope there's a good airport here. This is going to be so cool. Give me a Philadelphia. Hey, there's one. Let's see if it's worth anything. Brilliant scenery, blah, 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 sunset sky converted. Oh man, I bet you this looks totally dope. Oh man, that's cool. I'm downloading this sucker and installing it, and we're gonna fly so high in the sky. Let's do this! Woohoo! Alright, new airport loaded. Let's do this. Customize my airplane. We'll be Southwest Airlines. Let's see here. Southwest Airlines, according to our flight plan, starts at Gate E. Alright, here we go. I need Philadelphia. There she is. And Gate E, here we... Yeah, what? Where's all the gates? There's like 6 terminals and like over 100 gates. Why? What? No. Not another one of these airports. No! What? This ain't a gate. Why am I in the gate? Where is everybody? Why is there nothing here? Why is it so barren? Why, God? Why? What is this? Why are there taxi lines everywhere? Which one do I take? Which one do I take? I don't know which one to take! Hello out there, YouTube land. Captain K-Man coming at you today with our first ever X-Plane11 tutorial. How many times has that happened to one of you out there? You go to get your favorite airport off the org or off the gateway, download it, only to find that what you were hoping for was this, but what you actually ended up with was this. Well, today we're going to teach you a little lesson in how to get bland-looking airports looking like something worth flying to. Now, we're going to use the Philadelphia airport that you saw me hilariously download here at the beginning of the video. It's a nice-looking airport. It's very well done. I actually had it for FSX/P3D. Sunjet Sky does amazing work. And the fellow who converted that over did a pretty good job. But in X-Plane11, that airport is, for lack of a better word, kind of garbage. No gate assignments. The gate assignments are stuck inside buildings. We got multiple taxi lines going everywhere. And the airport is dead. There's absolutely nothing there. No ground traffic, no gate traffic, no world route traffic, no traffic at all. And we're going to remedy that today. Now, I've been playing with this airport already in World Editor, which is the tool that you can use to update your airports or build airports from scratch. And we've also been working inside Overlay Editor in order to get the airport from old busted to new X-Plane11 hotness. So if you're still on X-Plane 10, this may or may not work for you. I don't know. I didn't like X-Plane 10 at all. I was a huge P3D fan during that time. Never really liked X-Plane 10 that much, but X-Plane 11 is absolutely phenomenal. I love it. I have uninstalled Prepared 3D. I no longer require it, as X-Plane 11 does everything I need my simulator to do. So, with that being said, as we have transitioned to a new X-Plane version, a lot of the airports that are out there on the gateway or available on the org are kind of situated around X-Plane 10 style airport design. So that means a lot of airports, when you load them into X-Plane11, just may not cut it for what you want it to do. If you just want, some concrete to land on and some taxiways to drive around in, then that's fine. But if you're like me and you want as much detail as possible at your airports, sometimes you're going to have to take matters into your own hands and do it yourself. So that's what today's tutorial is going to be about. We're going to work on a few things here. We're going to get the easy stuff out of the way in this tutorial. I could probably go on for 4 or 5 hours, but we're going to try to keep this tutorial down to 60 minutes or less. So as such, we're going to do 2 things that can add a lot of spice really quickly to your airport. And I'm going to show you how I did that with the Philadelphia scenery here. It will require the overlay editor, and it will require world editor. You will also need the GroundTraffic plugin by Marginal. If you don't know what that plugin is, you've probably been living under a rock or on another planet. So without further ado, first off, let's load the simulator back up with the work that I've done. This is 3 days worth of work, and this just kind of showcases what you can do with a little bit of elbow grease. Okay, so X-Plane11 is all fired up here, and we got our version of the scenery ready to go. So we'll type in kfill here, and the first thing you're going to notice is we have gates. We have a lot of gates. We have all the cargo ramps labeled. This is the west cargo, there's the east cargo. This over here is the UPS terminal with all the UPS parking spots. We got American Airlines, American Delta, more Delta or US Airways. This is the Southwest Airline JetBlue terminal, and then this is all the regional jets for American Airlines over here in the F terminals. So we're going to spawn in over here at A4 from that, and let's get an appropriate aircraft here. Let's grab the Airbus A320, and oh, I forgot to put the American Airlines livery back on there. You know what? We're going to invade as Griswold the Bear here from Frontier Airlines. So engines off, good, and start. And we'll be right back when this thing's done loading. All right, so here we are at the new kfill, designed by me. We got airplanes everywhere. We've got catering trucks moving around. We got baggage trucks driving around. We got fuel trucks moving in down the scenery here. Plus we got more baggage being delivered everywhere. Aircraft all the way down. Aircraft everywhere. Aircraft. US Airways. There's Delta over there. And Frontier and JetBlue over there. We can see the Southwest terminal is empty. And over there we got regional jets spawning in everywhere. So everything that is supposed to be where it's supposed to be. And aircraft are sitting at the gates. And we've got cool stuff like this flying around everywhere. Over there's the UPS terminal. I see UPS. Traitor! What is this? FedEx! How dare you? That is a bug in X-Plane11's spawning engine, or somebody didn't set this airplane's data file up properly to identify it as a Federal Express aircraft. So the airport DAT file did the closest match that it could. Cargo China, and there's DHL, just like we programmed. There's where FedEx is supposed to spawn in, and it looks like they're spawning in over there just fine. So how did we go from bland, ugly to a living, breathing airport here? Well, it required a few steps, and we're going to go through the first easiest part of that right now, which is getting these gates set up. As you notice, the original download file that comes in off the org only has the 6 spawning locations, and they're actually embedded inside the terminals and inside the objects in the 3D world. Not very realistic and very immersion breaking. So what we need to do is we need to fix that problem. And I'm going to show you how I do this in every single airport that I've ever tried to fix in X-Plane11. So let's hit it off right now. Alright, so when I'm working on an airport, the first thing I am going to do is I'm going to pull up the charts for that airport. And I am fortunate enough to have a paid subscription to Navigraph, so I'm able to get access to their full color airport charts that are accurate, up to the date. And this is Philadelphia right here. And the thing that I really like about Navigraph charts over, say, another service like Jepson or something like that, is Navigraph charts actually show the layouts for all the gates. And this is usually 99.9% accurate. There may be some discrepancies here and there. But I can see here, here's the American Airlines terminal, the main one. This is the international. A lot of American Airlines park here, a lot of them park here, and this is where these 4 big gates is where all your big guys will dock, your 747s and stuff like that from British Airways and Air France and Qatar and all those other international flights will park there. And then on top of that, we got a second page here. This second page shows me the other terminals, concourse B, C, D, E, and F. And this basically gives me all the gate numbers and how they are assigned to the real world airport, so I can translate that into World Editor once I start editing the airport's DAT file. Now, the second tool I need, and this is hit or miss, it all depends on the airport that you're working on. Some airports are a little better than others, but I really like having the correct airlines spawning in at the correct terminals. So certain airports are pretty good at allowing you to do that. Philadelphia is one of those that's really good. So I'll show you what I did to get the assignments here. I went over to KPhil Gate Assignments in Google. And what we get here is flight search for Philadelphia.org. Come over here, sort by gate numbers, and voila, I have all the most accurate information on what airlines have docked at what gates today. So here we can see American Airlines has gates 10 and 11 and 12 at their disposal. Gate 14 belongs to Spirit Airlines. Back over to American Airlines for more, and so on and so forth. Once you start getting into the international flights, are there any in here right now? It doesn't look like any international flights landed today, so we didn't see any. But they were there yesterday. So this method will net you a realistic mix of planes where they're supposed to be. It may not get all the correct airlines that can go to every single gate. You'd have to sit here and come back to this website for 7 days and make notes of every airline that's ever docked at every gate. I don't need it to be that accurate. I just need it to be believable when I arrive at the airport. So we can just go through all the stuff here. Delta Airlines, United, they belong at the Delta terminals. Southwest owns the E terminals along with Frontier Airlines. American Airlines is back over at the F terminal. And this is all of the regional jets here. They pretty much own this entire thing. Nothing but American Airlines goes to the F terminal. So once I have this, there's a third tool that I like to use, and you can either use this tool or you can use Google Maps, one or the other, but I like to use Webading because I'm going to pull in the satellite imagery for this airport so I can align the gates. Normally, let me put a caveat on there, normally, I tried to do that for Philadelphia, but because the original scenery designer did not align the terminals to the real world, everything's slightly off by about 20, 30, 40 feet. So I actually had to go in and use a different approach. And thankfully, the Philadelphia scenery here has a DSF file. And in World Editor, you're allowed to pull in that DSF file as an overlay, just like you would pull in ortho scenery as an overlay. And since the airport was built around this DSF file, that's going to be the more accurate file. But I would still come in here and use Google Maps. Let's go to Maps here, and Google Maps. And I'll show you the reason why. I just do this so I can verify. I'll go to satellite imagery mode. So I can identify possible additional airlines that belong here, and also verify what I'm seeing. So, Here's a US Airways parked over here. And right now I currently don't have any US Airways assigned to any of these gates over here. US Airways got bought out by American Airlines, which is why this airplane is sitting over there. But this minor discrepancy is fine. I got all the gates here assigned to American Airlines, minus these 4 gates in the center here. We move over here further, take a look here. Yeah, that's an American plane. You can tell by the livery colors. Over here, US Airways. I got that set properly. We should start to see Delta Airlines and the like over here. Or is that more US Airways? Oh, it's the next terminal over. American Airlines pretty much owns Philadelphia. It belongs to them, so. There's a Delta regional jet. There's Air Canada, which I do have Air Canada assigned to these gates over here in my final file. Over here we can verify that's Southwest Airlines without it getting too sharp and crisp. The rest of these terminals are empty right now. And this is how I found out on this particular airport that nothing but regional planes and turboprops park over here, is because I looked at the satellite imagery just to verify that. Boy, the internet is loading really slow today. Come on, kerchunk. But here you can see there's nothing here but CRJs and ERJs all up along inside this area. And then over here is all American Airlines turboprops that they own. So that's how I verified through a third-party method what airlines go where. So now I have accurate gate information. So what do we want to look at first? Let's go and look at the original airport as it comes in the download file inside Overlay Editor, and we'll explain some of the stuff that we had to change out. Okay, so here we are inside Overlay Editor, and this is the airport as it looks coming right out of the zip file once you install it into your custom scenery folder and load it up. As you can see, completely barren, no traffic here. I mean, there are little details such as little carts and stuff already mixed in, so good of them on that. One of the glaring problems that you should have been able to witness earlier is the fact that there's multiple taxi lines everywhere. These taxi lines here, these are the ones that actually came with the scenery, and these little yellow lines here, those are the ones that are actually coming out of the DAT file from World Editor. So we have a conflict here, and so one of the first things I wanted to do was clean up this horrible conflict of taxi lines being everywhere. And what happened is, since the lines in the actual scenery in the DSF files were aligned to the scenery's alignment, not the satellite alignment, I decided that I needed to keep the DSF taxi line imagery, and we have to get rid of this World Editor stuff. So we actually have to go do that in World Editor, and we'll take care of that here shortly. But for now, just looking at a couple more things here. I just wanted to make sure the rest of the scenery looked pretty decent and was pretty much aligned where it needed to be. Oh, whoa, you can see it really bad. You can see how badly aligned the airport DAT file is compared to the DSF file that this airport was built with. So that's the dealio here. For people using an older version of X-Plane11, this is the preferred software here for putting aircraft down at the gates. This tutorial doesn't really cover that, but you can basically zoom in here and come up to, we'll go to Mr. X's library here, and we'll grab an American Airlines Airbus, drop it, use the Q and E keys to rotate it into position, use that shadow as a reference, and voila, we now have a static airplane sitting at the gate. But that's the old busted way of doing it, and I hate it if people still do that in X-Plane11 files. If an airport says XP11 in its information file on the orgs download, I expect the designer to have gone in and assigned all the airlines to the gates. The days of sitting here and dropping static aircraft onto the airport are no longer necessary in X-Plane11. That's the lazy man's way of doing it, and it's just a pet peeve of mine, especially gates. I'm a sucker for gates. I want every single gate that is at the real airport to be spawnable. I want to be able to spawn in anywhere I want, because when I'm flying online with my virtual airlines and they assign me gate E9, I want to be able to go to E9. I want to be able to start at gate E9. And a lot of the times in these older X-Plane airports, you can't do that because they decided to just put one or two spawn points of interest. And then there's a huge cardinal sin. I guess this was the rage back in the 10.30 days, but there's an almost unforgivable sin that I've seen in several airports I've downloaded off the org, in which people will actually put static aircraft on taxiways or sitting over here at the runway threshold just waiting to go, except they're never going to go, and they in fact get in my way. Especially when I'm using software like Pilot to ATC, which is actually giving me taxi instructions to get to the runway, and I get there and there's a ton of static aircraft in my face that I now have to drive through, thus breaking the immersion. If you're still doing this practice, stop it. I'm going to take away your X-Plane privileges. Stop designing in the old school way. Start designing for X-Plane11. So, and if you're still on 10, I don't know why you're still on 10. X-Plane11 is absolutely superior to 10. My 2 cents on that. It's been debated a million times. You're not going to ever convince me. I flew X-Plane 10. Didn't like it. Erased it within just a few days. X-Plane11, love it. It's here to stay. And it's only going to get better as it matures. So, one of the first things we can do to help it mature is get all these airports up to date for X-Plane11 usage. So that being said, we have all our gates here. If I want to get really crazy, I would come in here and wipe out all of these static gates, and I would probably replace them all with Marginal's automated gates, so I can actually have moving gates and actually have marshalers and stuff flagging me in and stuff. I'll probably do that in the final version that I'm working on, but for now, the static gates, they'll do. They'll do fine. So we'll just keep those around. So, it's time to make these gates. It's time to go from 6 gates and go all the way up to 100 plus gates, however many gates it takes to fill in the airport. So to do that, we're not going to use Overlay Editor. We're actually going to use World Editor. I use World Editor for all my taxi line creation, gate assignments, and setting up the airport's operations, such as what runways and stuff are active during what conditions. And of course, you have to set up a full ATC network there if you want programs like GroundTraffic to be able to spawn in living traffic that can actually taxi from gate to airport to the sky all the way back again. A pilot's tale. All right, so let's load up World Editor here, and we'll get started on making those gates a reality. Now, when we first load up World Editor here, obviously there's no earth.wed file, so a brand new one's been created. So we're going to have to bring in some data, and we need to bring in 2 layers of data for this airport. First, we're going to import the app.dat file that this airport did come with, and we come over here, we drill down to our where are we going? We're going to the EarthNav data folder here inside the fill, and then we're going to find the app.dat file, and we're going to double click it. When we double click it, we get this dialog box here. We select Philadelphia International, and we're going to import that. And there is all the airport data. And there's its position on planet Earth. So come in. So here's all the data, and this is information that I'm going to assume is the default Philadelphia X-Plane Airport's information. But as you saw earlier, a lot of the lines and stuff they just don't add up. They don't match here. Here's where the spawn-in points are that completely, totally suck and spawn you inside terminals and inside jetways and stuff. So this is layer number 1. We need layer number 2. Now, because this airport was built with the DSF file, which is the method that Overlay Editor uses to build airports, we need to bring in that information as well. So we're going to import the DSF file, And the DSF file is actually located here inside the longitude latitude coordinates folder inside the kfill scenery directory. And we're going to load that DSF file right there. It's going to take it a moment here to process all that information. So now we have 2 full layers of information working from 2 different files at the exact same time. So here's all the information from the DSF file. You can see over here we have a bridge that spans over the river. There's an industrial dockyard here. This is the football stadium, baseball stadium, additional boat traffic and dock traffic. This is all stuff that's going to be overlaid into the final scenery once everything is all put together. So, first things first, we want to eliminate all those taxi lines. We have to get rid of all that stuff here. So right now everything is currently selected and locked. We need to clear that by just clicking anything here. Expand this a little bit here. We don't need that. Very, very quickly, this assumes you have a basic knowledge of WED, that you've at least installed it and played around it a little bit. So we'll touch on a few things here, but when you're spicing up scenery like this, you want to go ahead and shut down the stuff that you don't want to move by locking it. So we're going to lock all the ATC stuff. We're going to lock all the lights in place. Markings is one of the things that we're going to murder here in a second. We want to keep all the signs intact. I'm going to close that and lock the signs down. I don't want those to move. The taxiways probably all need to be murdered also. Towers, windsocks. We'll lock these down so they don't move. This is all the scenery that came in from the DSF file. These are all the objects that were imported in. We don't want any of that stuff to move, but we do want it to stay around, so we're going to lock that down also. And there we go. We've got stuff locked down. Oh, we want to lock the runways too. Don't move the runways. Those need to stay where they are. And we'll go ahead and collapse that. And here's our ramp starts. Those are going to get deleted in turn here in just a moment. But the first thing we want to do, let's clean up all these double taxi lines everywhere. You can see it here. The DSF file brought in the taxi lines from that file. And really this is a user preference. You can either delete the taxi lines that are in the DSF file, or you can delete the taxi lines that are inside World Editor. The reason why I'm going to kill off the World Editor ones is because they are not aligned to the center point of all of the DSF file's graphic overlays. So everything will be off center. If I was to get rid of the DSF file taxiways, we would never be centered in the taxiway when we're going down it. So we're just going to kill off all of those lines here. And we don't need any of these markings either, because all these markings are also baked into the DSF. So all these marking lines here, we're just going to highlight them all, press the delete key. Boom. That got rid of all that garbage. Then we're going to go down here to taxiways, and we're going to kill off all this stuff too. These taxiways here are what are generating your edge lines and stuff like that, but they're way out of whack here too. You can see the original line from the original scenery is right here, and this is the one that WED wants to create, and that's just disgustingly ugly, so we're going to wipe it out. Boom. So all we're left with now is the actual real markings of the DSF file. As you can see, these taxi lines all go right down the center stripes. All of the taxiway edge lines are where they're supposed to be, and all that other good stuff. Now, if you want to get really creative, you could sit here and meticulously move all the taxi network lines around. That may be a preferred method. There's really no right or wrong way to do this at this point. It's just however you want it to happen. This is the way I wanted to do it, because all these lines here, that's a lot of work to get all those taxi lines moved back into position. Now, because I deleted all of that, there is one bad side effect. We've lost all of our edge lights, and we've lost all the taxi lights on the actual taxi lines. But not to fear. We will add that back in later. The taxi lights on the edge of the airport, we're actually going to add that stuff in using Overlay Editor, because X-Plane's night lighting is really, really beautiful. Like, it's absolutely gorgeous, no doubt, but it's overdone. A lot of the blue edge taxi lights that you see, there's too many of them. On average, in American airports, most taxi lights are about 10 feet apart, but X-Plane11 is drawing them almost 3 feet apart. So you get a lot more taxi edge lights than you actually need at the real airport. It looks cool, but it doesn't look accurate. So, and to add the green lights back in, first we need to figure out whether or not there really are green lights, because that's overdone in X-Plane also. A lot of airports, smaller airports and medium-sized airports, don't have those green center lights for taxiing at night. You're supposed to use the blue edge lights to keep your airplane centered, and of course the headlights, the taxi lights on your aircraft to help you see where you're going. Larger airports, yes, they usually do have green taxi lights, and they do have those yellow and green alternating high-speed turnoff taxi lights around here also. So we'll have to add all that stuff back in there if we can find appropriate information regarding where these lights are supposed to go. And if I can't find any documentation, I'll use Google Maps and zoom in as close as I possibly can to the taxi lines, because you can usually see the little light discs on the taxi lines if they have the green lights. And of course, you can really tell where all of the edge lights are when you zoom in really close also. So using that information, we'll try to get our edge lights approximated where they're supposed to go. This is where ortho overlays are really helpful, because you can usually see the footprint of where the blue light goes, and you can just drop your object right in the center of that and go all the way around your airport, and voila, you have the most accurate edge lighting you can possibly get for your airport. So, that being said, what are we going to do now? Now that we've cleaned up all of this stuff here, we need to clean up the gates. And by gates, I mean we need to actually get some gates, because these are horrible. So as you can see, one of the cool things about bringing in the DSF overlay files in is we can actually see the taxiways as they will be shown inside the simulator. So we can start detailing this airport. I'm not going to do the entire airport because that would probably take me about 30-40 minutes, but we will come in here and do the American Airlines International Terminal here, Terminal A. So that being said, let's grab this guy and move him over here. And I'm going to need my charts for this. So these are my charts here. And I'm going to move this off onto one of my other monitors so I can have it as a reference point. And then we'll come back in here. So we're going to zoom down. Now this is where I would have that website open also, the one that shows all the gate assignments. And I would go in there and use that information to help me detail these gates. First things first, we're going to move this guy right here, and we're going to turn him to face the appropriate direction, which looks a little weird. The stripes on this one are not quite centered, but close enough for government work here. I know that the gate's going to be spawning in on this yellow part here, so that's where we are there. Now over here in the information window, we need to completely change this information. This first gate here is actually A18, so I'm going to change it appropriately to A18. You'll see it up here, it changes to A18. And then we actually need to set the proper information. This is all information that X-Plane 10.51 Plus and of course X-Plane11 need in order to use the gate spawning system. I don't know if the gate spawning system exists in 10.51 Plus whatever. As I said, I didn't get that far. But in X-Plane11, this stuff is absolutely required. If you want AI aircraft to actually spawn in, you must turn this gate from a miscellaneous into a gate style. And we need to assign what kind of jets are going to go there. We don't want fighter jets. We don't want helicopters. We don't want props. Turboprops don't show up here either. And heavy jets will not be spawning there. Then we need to set the size of the jet. We want size C. This handles all your Boeing 737 products and Airbus A3XX products. If you need to see a footprint, you can come down here to A to C taxi flow. Click on that and it will show you the actual footprint your average aircraft of that size type is going to take up. Next, we have to tell WED that this is an airline operation, and then we need to assign the airline's ICO identification 3-digit letter code here. American Airlines is AAL. It is of important note. Type these in lowercase. I know they're supposed to be capitalized, but for some reason, World Editor wants them to be lowercase. And you'll have much more accurate traffic spawn in if you make everything lowercase than if you make it uppercase. I don't know why, it's weird. So that's the dealio. So there's one gate. Now, that was us editing a gate that already existed. We're actually going to go over here to this little airplane icon. It says ramp start. We're going to click on that. We're going to set up all of our miscellaneous data here. We're going to make this a gate. Only jets are going to spawn here. Size C. This is an airline operation. And because I know this is American Airlines, I'm going to change the default airline code to AAL. And we are now ready to start rapidly dropping new gate assignments. So I usually go, whenever somebody does these little T parkings, I usually do the one that's the second from the last one here. Click, drag, left click, drag, release. And there's an airplane. I'll come in here. This is gate A20. We'll move down to the next gate. Rinse and repeat. Try to get this aligned as much as possible. Boom. That is gate A22. And so on and so forth until at last, voila, we are done assigning all of our gates. Many much gates. Everywhere, gates. Gates. And then once you have all your gates in place, you can come back in, and if you can get more detailed information regarding your airlines that belong here, you can come back in to each one of these individually and click here. You can see here I have American Airlines and Air Canada assigned to this gate. Over here we have Qatar Airways and I can't remember what DLH is at the moment. This is American Airlines and British Airways. And then we have Spirit Airlines and so on and so forth. And we do that all the way around the airport, everywhere we see that there's supposed to be an airplane. And we can double check. And this is pretty much the footprint that all these planes are going to take up. So that's that terminal. Here's the FedEx terminal. Cargo ramps, more cargo ramps, more cargo ramps. Also extra parking for international flights if they get really busy here. And there you can see all my airplane assignments. All the way around here. And there's all of our little regional jets. And that's pretty much gates. Setting up the right gates really doesn't take a lot of time, and at this late stage in X-Plane's development, there's no excuse for any airports from this point on not having every single gate where it is supposed to be. If it is not there, it is because you are being lazy. Stop being lazy and start developing proper airports with all the gates ready to go. Now, we're going to move on to part 2 here, and we're going to talk about adding a little more spice to our airport by using Marginal's GroundTraffic plugin. This requires a little bit more effort, and a majority of my editing so far has been spent making all the routes for those baggage carts and catering trucks and fuel trucks to actually use. And if you have not used this tool before, you're in luck, because this is where the most detail is going to be shared in this tutorial. So, first we need to go to xplane.org and grab the GroundTraffic Animated GroundTraffic Kit 1.52. Now once you download this, it's fairly simple to get started. We need to go X-Plane. Where are you at, X-Plane? over here. So we go into our custom scenery folder and find Sunjet Sky K-Fill that we've been working on. And you're going to create a new folder here. You're going to create a folder called Plugins. All right, exactly how you see it right there, Plugins. You're going to go into that folder, and then from the GroundTraffic zip file that you downloaded off of the org, you're going to copy the GroundTraffic folder directly into here, and that's it. You have installed the GroundTraffic plugin for this particular airport that you're working on. Next, you need to go back up to the root directory of the airport, and you need to create a new text file called groundtraffic.txt. And it needs to be exactly spelled how you see it here, capital G with a capital T. All right, so that's the easy part. When you open this, it'll be blank, obviously, because you just made it. But once you start working, this is what it's going to start looking like. I know it looks intimidating at first. Trust me, I stared blankly at the example one that you're able to download from the org back here. When you click download over here, there's a second file that's the Seattle demo area. And get it, because inside is all the different types of commands that you can actually do and a commented out how-to for each one. So I'm not going to load theirs up right now because I think I got this down packed now, and plus I've copied a lot of the information from the demo area into my own for references. So how do we get all those cool little vehicles moving around? Like all of these guys doing their little thing here, driving around. What a beautiful ballet has ensued here at this lovely airport today. Well, I'm going to show you how I do it. There's a couple of videos out there already and a couple of websites that kind of explain how they do it. I didn't like them. I didn't like that way of doing it. It looks like the dominant way is to actually use Overlay Editor to create new taxi points. But either I just don't understand Overlay Editor when it comes to making new taxi points, or it's just that tedious. I prefer the other tedious method, and that's using World Editor to get these things done. And we'll show you how that works and how we get traffic moving around here. So we're going to pause the simulator right now and just let it stay in the background. And we're going to come back into our text file here. And let's focus in on one of the most complicated things in my particular file here that I built. And that was that American Airlines baggage truck that just drove by with all the blue carts being towed behind it. That is down here. First off, I had to build the train itself, and you do that by basically defining a bunch of objects that you want to use and linking them together using the train command here. All of this is explained in a lot of detail inside the Seattle demo area file that you can download off the org. So go grab that. It's pretty straightforward. I understood it pretty quick here. Basically, I made this train here. This is the actual American Airlines one here. It was constructed using Mr. X library scenery. We went in and got his baggage trains, got the tractor here, and here's the 4 American Airlines carts that thing is pulling. And basically here, this is the distance between each object. So it kind of gives you the illusion that they're linked together. And I'll show you how we got all that. I got all this out of World Editor, not Overlay Editor, World Editor. This is how much of an offset you need, just in case the person who built the model didn't build it right on the 0,0 axis when they were in their 3D modeling software. And this is also the heading modifier in case they didn't build the object pointing straight north. GroundTraffic assumes that the object is pointing straight north in its orientation. If it is not, and you spawn the traffic in with just these zeros, well, you're going to have a fuel truck that's sliding sideways across the ground, or a baggage cart that's driving backwards, and we don't want that. And I'll show you how you make sure everything is aligned properly, and if it's not, what values you need to actually put into these things. Now, that being said, we come down here. I love to comment everything. I talk about everything here. So this train that we just created, well, actually, it's not traveling at 16 kilometers anymore. I upped the speed to 25. But we'll just start here at the beginning. In order for ground traffic to spawn in a new ground traffic object and actually drive it around the airport, you have to use a route command here. And the route command is always the same no matter what object you're spawning in. It's always the word route, the speed of the object, any offset, any heading offset required, and the location of the object in your custom scenery folder. After that, it's just a bunch of longitude and latitude coordinates that tells that object where it needs to go. And it will go to each one of these spots traveling at 25 kilometers per hour until it gets to the very end. And then here I told it to pause for 30 seconds, and then it's going to go right back to the top and repeat. And it will keep doing that infinite loop forever. And by stacking up a whole bunch of ground traffic like this in different areas, going down different driveways and taxiways and stuff, you build up a solid illusion of a really busy airport with fuel trucks going everywhere, and baggage trucks going everywhere, and tow trucks going everywhere, maintenance trucks, ambulances, you name it. This is how you do it. You can even take people and animate people walking around the airport too. So if you've seen some of those cool airports where you see little tiny dudes walking around doing their thing, that's ground traffic plugin doing its thing. So anything that's an object can be moved. If you wanted to be hilarious, you could take one of these light poles that you see sticking up here, define that as an object in the ground traffic, and you could have a light pole driving all over the airport. It doesn't matter what it is, as long as it's an OBJ file, you can animate it using ground traffic, as far as I know. So, all we want to animate though are vehicles. So, that being said, how did we come up with this path? How did we come up with these distances here? And by the way, these distances are in meters. So, you U.S. airport designers are going to have to do a little extra step inside World Editor. But let me show you what we did. Get this out of the way and bring up World Airport Editor. Shazam! So, we want to design a new route for a piece of ground equipment. Now, normally, if your scenery was aligned using an orthographic satellite image, you would be good to go. But because we were not, because we did not align off of orthographic, we aligned off of the DSF file that came with Philadelphia, we're going to use, once again, the DSF overlay to create all of our ground traffic. And what we need to do first is figure out where we want our traffic to start. So, that blue truck with the, or that American Airlines baggage truck actually spawns in right over here in my file. All right. Now, the first thing I did is I needed to find an object. So I went into my packs here, and I know Mr. X has some amazing 3D objects, so I just went into his stuff here. I expanded Mr. X. I went to Airport, Vehicles, found my baggage trains. I went to Active because I wanted a tractor. I used a generic tractor here. And so there is the 3D object that we're going to use. Mr. X was very, very smart when he organized all of his objects here. Anything that says active is going to have a guy sitting in it. If it doesn't have a guy sitting in it, or if it's outside the active folder and you click on it, you'll notice there's nobody in it anymore. So whenever possible, I try to use an active object so we get the cool little dude sitting in there. Now, the first thing we do here, we're already in object mode because we've selected an object. We went into object mode right here. I'm just going to click once without dragging. Starting over from scratch here, be sure you click outside of your folders. Click on World or click on Philadelphia, but don't be inside any of your organized folders because you're going to delete all this stuff anyway when you don't need it. All right, so there's our 3 luggage carts. They're all orientated northward. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to drag it and attach it where I want it to be in the real world here. All right. And you can probably get away with just using the 1 here. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hold down the middle mouse button and I'm going to measure from the front of this 3D object to the back bumper here. And I see down there at the bottom, it is 10.3 feet. But everything is done in meters, so be sure you come up to View and click on meters. Let's remeasure this in meters now. So everything is 3.2 meters long. All right, and I can come down here, and these carts are all 3.6 meters long. So, whoosh, bring this back over here. At this point, we need to define the train. So we come down here. This is just a comment line saying this is going to be a train. I type the word train, and then I give it a name. BDS is the initials for my scenery design company. I will not reveal what that is just yet, as we are not completely official. And then I'm going to call this object, or this set of objects, luggage underscore train underscore 2. Be sure you use underscores, don't use any spaces. So, object number 1 is 0 meters, because it's the lead object. We don't need any offset, because this model was built with the offset being dead center already. We don't need to change the heading, because this vehicle was already modeled facing north, so that's good. And then we need to get the name of the object. And the reason why I dropped the objects here in World Editor is because I can click on the object here, and right here in the information pane under selection is the resource folder. And I can click just once, press Control-C to copy, and then I can bring it over here, and when I say that this was blank, like that, I could position this and go Control-V on a PC. I don't know what it is on a Mac. I'm not a Mac user. But there's the actual object's full path name to the scenery library. And I do that again and again and again. And here is that 3.6 meter measurement. All right? So we'll measure one more time. From the front of the tractor to here is 3.2. Now, I don't think the first object counts in the measurement, now that I'm thinking about it, but the second one does. This object is approximately 3.6 meters long. I gave it a little extra point meter there. And then I put in 3.6 is how long this first vehicle is. And then I just took 3.6 and I added that times 2, which gives us 7.2. Then I added 3.6 to 7.2. which gives us 10.8, and then I added 3.6 to 10.8, which gives us 14.4. And what this does in the simulator is it gives you the illusion that these objects are all linked together, and so when the lead object turns, the others will follow with it and give you a snaking appearance of all of your baggage trains going everywhere. So that's how we actually build the vehicle train itself. Next, we need to go down here. Remember, we called it luggage train number 2. So we're going to come down here, and we would start a new route file. I would type in route, speed of 25, offset of 0, heading of 0. None of that's required because of our model is already set up correctly. The object, normally you would either do, let me just press enter here, go back one. You would either post your object right here that you wanted to use, or in our case, because we're using a train of objects, Control-Z does not function in Notepad. Come back here. Because we define this as BDS/luggage underscore train underscore 2, this tells GroundTraffic that all 5 of these objects I want them to spawn together as we defined in that train up there. I want them all to spawn in sequence together. And then we start our path here. And the way we get the path is we're going to draw a fake taxiway out of the way. Now, I thought I was going to be able to get away with using a website of mine. And I'll show you this website real quick here. There. Hang on a second. Come over here. That's not what I wanted. What is that website? Bookmarks, other bookmarks, map editor. There it is. Get back over here. So, barrack.se/xplane/map.html. All right. This is a fantastic map system for grabbing longitude and latitude coordinates. I use this software when I'm building GroundTraffic 2 ground routes for AI aircraft to use to taxi around the airport and take off and push back from gates and stuff like that. Now, sadly, when I came in here, I was like, oh, I'll use this program. This will be awesome. I'll be able to use this to create my ground traffic routes. But there's a problem with that. As we zoom in here on Philadelphia, and we get closer and closer, and oops, I can't get closer. This is as close as I can get. And these little dashed lines here, these are the actual routes that the real world ground traffic uses. We can go to satellite mode here, and you can see little tiny little cars and trucks all over the place driving around here. And unfortunately, when we come in here to like lay down some coordinates, are we in list mode? Yes, list mode. We click here and we start drawing, but I can't get fine enough control over this to actually use it. It would have been nice, because what this map software does is it puts the coordinates down here when you're in list mode, and I can just copy and paste that directly into my groundtraffic.txt file. But the resolution is too high for us to get precision vehicles driving along the actual lanes and stuff. So I unfortunately had to abandon this idea. And there's also another problem. Because this airport is not aligned to that scenery, my traffic wouldn't have been driving in those spots anyway, even if I was able to get a higher resolution and actually draw all those vector lines. Because this airport's just not aligned to the real world. The runways are aligned to the real world, but the aprons and the terminals are they're offset. They're a little too far to the south. But this is where I was like, aha, I am saved. Because we were able to import the DSF file, which is the graphical overlay that you will see inside X-Plane when the airport loads up, because I was able to import that in here, I was able to zoom in extremely close, and here is the road network that you see in the actual game. So, we're going to start laying down coordinates. First things first, I don't need these guys anymore, so I can just get rid of those right there. Once again, be sure you have a folder outside of your main folders here, either the actual international, or you can go over to world if you want to go to world, but feels fine. We're going to go over here, we're going to go to taxi lines. Click that. Don't care about any of this stuff up here because we're just going to delete this stuff anyway. And here we go. This is how I get my ground traffic routes, my longitude, latitude coordinates into my groundtraffic.txt file. I will literally just start clicking. Click. Remember, we're Americans, so we drive on the right side of the road, and then we'll start drawing the path. And every single time I click, I am dropping a vertex. And we're not going to do a crazy long file, but long enough, and we'll end this right there. So, I can zoom out, and I can see that this is going to be the path that my luggage train is going to take. Now, the reason why I like using World Editor over Overlay Editor for making these ground routes in the groundtraffic.txt file is because I can copy the coordinates in World Editor directly out of World Editor into my text file. I did not see anywhere where you could do that. If you try to use Overlay Editor, you will be doing a lot of 10 keying, and that is a lot of numbers to 10 key in to screw up. So what I will do is we got our path here. I will go to select mode, vertex select mode, and I will drag, oops, hang on. Remember to lock everything down at this point, including your ramp starts. Lock it all down. You don't want anything to be active. All right, so with everything locked down, we can't move, touch, or click anything but these routes that we are creating. And so now I can actually drag and go around it. And then we can shrink this down. And here are all the nodes that I dropped in the sequence that I dropped them. Node 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. And here's the latitude, longitude coordinates for each one of those drop points. And so what I can do now, and let me just, I'm going to leave this half on one monitor, half off the other. And I'll just tab down here like we were starting a brand new file. So here we are. We got a clean latitude, longitude set we want. So I would just go copy, paste, copy, paste, enter. Come back in, copy, paste, copy. Oops, no, don't do that. You sure they're all on the same line? Paste, enter. We'll do one more set here. Copy, paste, copy, paste. And you do that so on and so forth, whether you have 3 waypoints or 57 waypoints, it does not matter. In the end, voila, you end up with a path. Now the reason why mine is so long here is because when I design my routes, I make them circular. What I mean by that is if we were to continue this route, right, and say we went over here, I actually double back. We'll just make this really sloppy here, boom, 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 doesn't matter, blah, 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 blah. So I would have this non-stop looping thing, and it would come around and it would terminate right here, and then that's where this pause command comes in handy right here, because it'll sit there for 30 seconds, and then after that's done, it goes back to the top, and the luggage cart will spin around and start going down the pathway again. So you can get some really elaborate, extremely elaborate paths. One of the luggage carts that I have designed right now actually follows just real quick. It does this, 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 then it comes all the way down, gets back on, goes all the way down, goes up, and then it terminates down here, and then it loops and starts all over again. So that way, you get traffic that looks like it's going all over the airport. Very clever. Very, 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 very clever. Select. Delete. Delete. Now, is this foolproof? No, it is not. Because for some reason, I don't know why, we'll just take this road here for an example. When I do coordinates like this, click, click, and I come up here and I'm like, click, and I come and I terminate at the end here, click, and then I come over because, I want the vehicle to travel along this other lane. Click, click. When I load this into the simulator, guess what? It's not aligned. So even the DSF file is slightly out of alignment with what the real longitude latitude coordinates are that GroundTraffic is using. But never fear, because I always do one traffic route at a time. And then I will load it up inside X-Plane and I will look to see what the craft is doing. And while I'm watching it drive around, if I see that it's not going anywhere, I'll take note of how far off it is from its driving point, and I'll come back in here and I will move these vertexes back into position. I just so happen to know that at this particular airport, this is how the alignment actually is for this runway, or this driveway area here. When we do this, we move this all around. It is a little tedious. I can already hear you groaning now, like, oh my god, really? I gotta do all this crap? Yes, unfortunately you do. I haven't found an easier way. But now I know, after editing this, I can go back into all my coordinates, we come back up here and we select this whole thing, and I would come back in and I would copy paste and I would overwrite all of the entries that I already have here in my text file. And then I would save it, and the next time it loads in, the baggage cart is now actually driving where I wanted it to drive. So it takes a little bit of time. I've spent 3 days now generating the 10 vehicles that I currently have driving around the airport. And that's not like, 10 hours a day for 3 days. It took me about 2 hours a day. So I've spent maybe 6 hours getting the vehicles down there. So it's very tedious. But in the end, what you end up with is a very detailed looking airport traffic scenery, combining the AI static aircraft that spawn in at the gates with all the moving traffic. If you go a step further and put in a ATC taxi route and assign that properly to World Traffic 2, for example, that's what I use for my AI traffic. X-Life is the other one. But I like World Traffic 2 better. Unfortunately, it does require a lot more setup than X-Life does, but you get more accurate aircraft at your airports. But you combine accurate gates with ground traffic routes with world traffic ground routes, and what you end up with is a beautiful airport that has planes driving around and taxi vehicles driving around and the baggage carts, and planes are landing and taking off, and everything is beautiful, and suddenly your airport is no longer a barren wasteland, but a living, breathing airport that you can be proud to fly into. So I don't know how useful this tutorial was for you. Hopefully you took some information out of this, and will go forth and conquer and make the world of X-Plane11 a little bit better place. I guess X-Plane 10 point whatever, if it still works like that in X-Plane 10. If not, so sorry, Charlie. It's time for you to upgrade to X-Plane11. Do it. You will not be sad. Most of the add-ons work just fine, and the ones that don't are currently being updated. So do it. Just do it. Stop complaining. Stop whining. All right, so that's it for this spectacular airport tutorial. If you want to see more tutorials, let me know in the comment section below, and I will try to tackle it. There'll probably be a part 2 on this, on how to get this airport lit up properly, because right now this airport is only good for daytime operations. I have to get it all beautified and stuff for nighttime. So first I'm going to have to do that, because it's very much, I'm still learning how to use WED myself, but I'm getting really good at it real quick. I'm going to need to, because I want to design payware airports for X-Plane11. The more practice we get, the better. That's why I actually started working on Philadelphia here, because this was a good place to start testing out the new skills that I've learned in getting ground traffic ready and getting my own taxi lights and all that other good stuff going. So by the time I'm done with this airport is going to be beautifully lit at night with the appropriate taxi lighting everywhere. There's going to be world traffic driving around, baggage carts everywhere, people walking around. There will be auto gates. That'll probably be a completely other tutorial on how to get auto gates set up. We'll delete all of the standard gates here and replace it with Marginal's auto gate system. Show you how that works. It's pretty easy to set up once you get the hang of it. So until then, this is Captain K-Man. I am out of here, and thank you for stopping by.